Alright, what's happening, guys? So today we are going to be talking about editing. I've gotten a few requests about how I edit my videos, like how I do my B-roll stuff, like just kind of like that. So I thought we'd do a video this week of just kind of my basic workflow about how I make all my videos, and hopefully share a little couple tips and tricks and little tidbits in there that will get your creative juices flowing and help you make better videos. The first thing I do, guys, before I even film anything, is have a system set up for organization so it makes my life easier when I'm looking at my files and stuff. So if we hop in the computer here, you can see I have Elk River Cleanup, Lamprey, What's in the Bag. Some astute observers might notice that those are related videos that I've released, and you would be correct. But then I have this video, I have this folder called Template, which is just full of folders that are blank. And that's because I can copy that, paste it, rename it to How I Edit My Videos. And then I have a folder to put all my video for that week in. So I have a folder for my B-roll footage, my drone footage, my GoPro footage, and my cell phone camera footage. And that way it's just easy to find this stuff when I'm in the editing program. I can just import that folder as a folder, and then I know, I need my GoPro footage from here. I don't have to scroll through this big list of video trying to find everything. That's just, it's a lot. The other thing I do is I have a project file already made up that has certain things in it that I use all the time. So I have a project file that has like my opener already imported, my closer, my closing screen already imported, and my subscribe, like button animations already in there. So I don't have to do that every time I start a new project. They're just in there already. So it saves a few seconds here and there. Doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it makes a huge difference. Now, I use Premiere Pro to edit with, and that is not a free option. So for a lot of you, that's probably gonna suck, but trust me, a lot of this should translate over. And just do what's best with you. If you can only afford a free program, that's absolutely fine. You're still making a video, that's the most important part. But for me, I use a lot of Adobe products. So I use Illustrator, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, After Effects. I use a lot of things a lot of the time. So I have the subscription to get all their apps, and I can just use them whenever I want. So yeah, I use a lot of Adobe products. So it just makes sense for my life to have the subscription. But if you don't have Premiere Pro, that's absolutely fine. You should be able to follow along, no problem. The way I usually go is I have my opener, and then I have, which is, here, and then I have usually a B-roll section, which I do have, and then usually that skips into the main part, the main video. But this time it went opener, B-roll, main footage, more B-roll, more main footage. So it's a little bit split up. So we are going to talk about B-roll because I know there are some people interested in that cinematic-y B-roll stuff. But we're going to talk about that more towards the end, and we're going to focus on the basic, just kind of edit right first. Yeah. Basically, what I do first is get all my video, this would be my GoPro video stuff, and I start adding it to the timeline, and I trim away all the fat. And what I mean by that, this is a good example here. Let's drag this down to the timeline, scooch over, zoom in. You can see, let's mute that for a second. This is me walking, starting the car, then I back up, and then eventually I come pick the camera up. Now, obviously you don't want to see me walking to the car really. I mean, you could, but that, I don't know, doesn't look good to me. So I'll get to right about here, which is where I start the car. I'll cut that, trim that off. And then I'll come right to where I drive over, leave it a couple frames, cut that, delete that off. So now we just have me starting the car, and then I apply the brake, put it in reverse, and back over the camera. And then that just leaves a couple frames in front to blend into the next clip or whatever. So I just have the meat and potatoes right there. We don't have any of that fat. We don't have any unnecessary footage. Because, like, I don't want to see that. I don't think you guys want to see that. Why put it in there? This might be a little bit different because I think a lot of you probably, if you're using like GoPro, you hit the record button, you let it go. Now, if it's a long clip, GoPro will split that into a few different clips. But for the most part, it's just going to be one long clip. So you're going to have to make multiple cuts in this one clip and then scoosh everything back together. Scoosh, scoosh. The other thing to consider, guys, is when you're doing this, you don't necessarily have to do that in a chronological order. Like, most of the time I do, but when you're doing stuff for YouTube, the name of the game really is to try to keep the most amount of people on your video for as long as possible. If you put less exciting finds all the way through the first part of your video, people may get bored. If they're not die-hard subscribers, they're gonna get bored probably and click off. It's the way YouTube is. We have a short attention spans. So that could be a problem. The other hand is if you put something really great at the beginning, now they've seen the really great thing you found and they click off because they don't want to watch anything else. They've seen the mountain. They've been to the mountaintop. So why do they need to watch the rest of the video? Maybe put a few little finds and then kind of an okay find and then some more little finds and then maybe your big find. I like to put my bigger kind of stuff like 3/4 of the way through the video. It's kind of right there. So I'm, if they click off after that, I'm not losing too much, but they don't have to wait all the way to the end. And I don't know, I think that's a good place to put it personally. That's why also, you can see here, if we jump back to the computer, I put this little teaser at the beginning about the lamprey. And
that's great. Look at those little teeth they latch on.
You're kind of like, oh, what is that? And then I make you go 3/4 of the way through the video to find out what that is. So I give you a little tease, and it kind of keeps your interest sparked right there. And then I introduce you to other video. And then in the back of your mind, you're like, man, I want to get to this lamprey thing. All right, guys. The next thing I will do after that is add some audio. Sometimes I like to put a little bit of music in the background, and sometimes I don't. But in this case, I did like to put that in the background. So a good rule of thumb to start with, if you have audio, like if I'm talking right now, I might have audio underneath me right now, I don't know. But if you have somebody like I am talking right now and you want to put audio under there, you want your audio to be about -20 dB from where they're talking. So if I'm talking at about 12 decibels, I want to be about -32. That's a good starting spot. And then that way the music's not overpowering my talking, it's not distracting, but it is there, you can hear it, and it's just a nice little background track in there. So that's a little helpful hint for you. And you might have to adjust that because sometimes the music's louder, sometimes the music's softer, and you just kind of have to play with it, but that's a good starting spot to get with. And that leads us to music. Now, I get all my music from epidemicsound.com. I think it's awesome. I have a link down below. I think it gives you a free month trial. This is another subscription-y thing. I know subscriptions are money, but this one, it's $15 a month. It's borderline. It's not a bad price. It's not a bad price really for what you get. So let's break it down. Let's go over here. This is their website. Now, two of the main reasons I love their website already is it gives me recommendations for songs that I've used on my channel, but also recommendations for songs that I have downloaded recently. So, we'll play this. I don't know what this is, but ooh. Ooh. Okay, I'm feeling it. This would make some interesting little B-roll music. I might even save that. I don't want to download. I want to save it. No, I don't want to download. Add to favorites. Okay. So, you can preview it, and it gives you recommendations. The other really cool thing is you have like genres you can go. I don't want to rate you right now. Please go away. You know, rock, hip hop, small emotions, classical, funk, blah, 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 blah. You can click any of these and it's gonna bring up stuff. So let's play this. Man, this feels like Shaft. I love it. Oh man, I might even save that. That's crazy. It just sounds like Shaft or something. But then we also have moods. So maybe you want, I don't know, we'll go to epic. And then even from there, you can narrow it down even further with these options up here. So what's this? It's got like some classical stuff mixed in it. That's kind of cool. I don't know if it counts as epic, but see, now that sounds epic. Sounds like there's a big fight going on. Anyway, there's a bunch of ways to search for songs, but then you also get sound effects. You can get sound effects on the same subscription. You get thousands of music choices and sound effects, guys. Another really cool thing you can do, you can come down here and click stems. And you don't have to download the full mix, guys. You can just download the stems. So maybe I just really like the drums from this. And then you can just use the drums in your video. Or maybe you like the bass. Or maybe you want like guitars and stuff. But you're more than welcome to just use the full mix. And it gives you that option when you download. Download stems or just download full mix. The other thing you can do is if you kind of like this rock thing, you can hit find similar. Boom, here's all similar tracks, mostly by the same person, but you know. A bunch of similar tracks to the one you were just listening to. So once you find like some kind of music, some kind of artist that you like, you can really just keep going on and on and on. Add to playlist, you can like it. I don't know, Epidemic Sound is super dope. I love it. Awesome music, awesome sound effects, and we're going to talk about sound effects here in a little bit. But yeah, it's a great place to get music. Highly recommend it. Like I said, link down below. I think it gets you a free month trial, royalty free. You don't have to worry about copyright strikes. If you decide to cancel your membership for any reason, anything that you've uploaded previously is still fine to use. You will not get any copyright strike because you uploaded it while you had a subscription. So I mean, definitely, you go try it out. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But if you do like it, it's just, you're good. It's good. I don't know what to tell you. Now that I've put music in, now the final thing that I do is do like color correction and color grading and that kind of a thing. So if you look up here, I have an adjustment layer. And that is where I put all my effects for the color and whatnot, because I do not shoot in the standard GoPro color profile. I shoot in the flat profile and I set the sharpening to low because I want to control that in post. But that's just me, I'm a control freak. Perfectly okay for you just to record in the standard GoPro way. Completely fine. But for me, when I get out of the GoPro, it looks like this. It looks flat, it looks faded, it looks kind of gross. But then I come in here and I make these adjustments, which I can probably bring this up a little, maybe not that. I've taken the blacks down to add contrast. I've taken the whites down because it's losing detail from the white on my gloves and stuff. And then I went in and I added a crap ton of sharpening and some vibrance, which that controls how vibrant, obviously it is. Or you can change, how much color there is, how much saturation. So, I do all that and to get the GoPro footage looking the way that I want it to look. So I like to have control, and that's why I shoot on the flat color profile. And yeah, I just add everything else in afterwards, but that's an extra step. Definitely, it's not needed for everybody. Just control freaks like me. All right, guys. Now we can talk about B-roll stuff. I was pretty excited about the coffee B-roll segment in the middle at the beginning of this last video I uploaded. It took me like 2 days on this one part, no lie. I just kept making modifications and tweaking and getting it exactly the way I wanted it to, and I'm pretty happy with it, so I hope you guys liked it all right. But I have gotten some questions about this, like how do you make stuff look more cinematic and whatnot. One of the first decisions you have to make is, even before you start recording anything, is what frame rate you're recording in. If you record in 24 frames a second, that's gonna look the most cinematic. It's gonna have the most motion blur because it's blurring the motion between frames. It doesn't have enough frames and information to give you a clear image. Now, if you shoot in like 60 frames a second, there's gonna be more frames, so you're gonna lose that blur, so everything looks more realistic. It looks sharp and like actiony, and it has a certain style to that. And some people like that, and that's okay. I kind of split the difference. I do kind of like the 60 frames, but not all of my recording instruments play nice with the 60 frames. So I split the difference and I shoot in 30 frames a second, which gives me a little boost in the frame rate in like action areas, but it also still has some motion blur and stuff. So it works well. So like that's the first decision you want to make. If you want to be hardcore cinematic looking, just film everything in 24 frames a second. And it's going to look already so much better. After that, there are other things to consider. Now, the job of B-roll is usually to move along the story. Like if you watch the news and, you know, let's say they're talking about like a pharmaceutical company, you might hear the anchor talking about the different stuff, and they'll show images of, you know, the pharmacist putting pills into the little bags, or like the pill containers or whatever, or chopping pills up. They'll have different things, pictures related to the story that they show you just to, you know, move the story along. In my case, when I shoot the B-roll, it's to usually tell a story about where I am in the location and, you know, that kind of a thing. And that's why I always put that at the beginning of my videos, so you see where I am and you see what I'm doing. In this case, I really wanted to show off telling the story of going to the river, collecting water, and bringing it back to camp and making coffee out of the river water. I definitely have, when I do B-roll, I have kind of like an A to B state of mind. Like I know where I want to start, I know where I want to end, and then I film the in between. So it's usually telling a story, so it's real hard to go out and just film random stuff and make it work. It's possible, but it's better if you stop, take a minute, think about it, and then film what you want to film with a purpose. Let's jump in here. Okay, so you can see we start a wide shot of the river, and then we end up on a close-up next to the river bank, and then you got me collecting water, oops, putting the lid on, walking away, going back to camp. Now we're back at camp. You know, here's the coffee, putting the coffee in. Here's screwing on the jet boil to the fuel. Here's adding the water, and then, you know, lighting and heating the water, boiling the water, making the coffee, blah, blah, blah. So it's definitely very A to B. What I will also do is usually go find my music first, and I'll edit to the music. I think it's a lot harder to like put stuff together and then add music and make it work. For me, it's just easier to get that music from the get-go. So I got the nice background kind of music, and then sometimes, you know, if there's a beat, I'm sure it's in here somewhere, I just can't tell you right now, I'll edit to a beat or like a snare or something, and it adds this really powerful just like transition. Even though it's like a cut, because it did it on a beat, it adds this extra special like momentum to the whole thing. And yeah, that's a cool little trick to do. So you don't really need anything fancy to do that. You can do just that transition. You will notice that I have like fancy transitions in here, like stuff like this and this and this. Now those are all extra plugins in Premiere, so if you don't have a Premiere and you don't have those plugins, that's not going to work too well for you. But at the end of the video, I will show you a cool little in-camera transition trick you can use to do kind of a similar thing. And you don't have to have any software for that. You just got to use your camera. You get all your clips in there. You told a story. You have the music. Now I have to add in color grading. And once again, that's where the magic happens. Now, if you look over here, and like not a lot of people are going to have these color scopes, but this is white, and past 100 you lose detail, and past 0 you lose shadows. So a trick to make it look kind of pretty cinematic is to raise your shadows up so they're kind of faded, and lower your whites until they're kind of faded, and it gets kind of this cool faded look. I also have a teal orange LUT applied, and I've lowered the intensity at different points. But that is a trick Hollywood uses a lot. They use kind of teal in the shadows and orange in the highlights. So if you have something where you can add color, like here in your shadows and highlights, you can add, you know, like a teal blue to your shadows and add some orange color to your highlights, and that's gonna make it look more cinematic. But I have a LUT that just does that, and I just raise or lower the intensity. And you know, I played through this, and I had the colors were good, the music was good, and I thought I could do better. And the way we're gonna do better is sound effects. If we play through this, check it out. You hear the stream kind of far away, and then when it goes to the riverbank here, it's louder because we're closer to the water. That's on purpose. You hear the bubbles going in the bottle. You hear the cap going on. I flip the bottle, catch it. You can hear a thud. You can hear the coffee grounds hitting the camera lens. You can hear me screwing on the jet boil. You can hear the water going into the cup. Now, all this was done in post. These were not the actual sound effects. These were all added. These are sound effects from Epidemic Sound. This one was cool because I actually had to slow down the sound from this, and it just happened to match perfectly right where it sat to me spinning it, and it was really cool. I like this one. This is one of my favorite audio ones of the whole thing, because you see the water, and in frame, the water goes from right to left. So I panned the audio to be a little more prominent on the right side, slowly transition over to the left side and be more prominent when it ends on the clip on the left side. So it adds this cool little element. It kind of adds to the illusion because you're seeing the water move right to left, and then you're also hearing it. Even if you don't actually like register that you're hearing it, it's happening, and it really sells. It just sells the effect, and it's amazing. This is another fun one. I like this. And then as soon as it moves here, you can hear it gets louder because we're closer, and then I have it drop down in volume as it moves away from the camera. And that's another way to kind of sell your sound effects, is to just make sure you're blending them properly. So yeah, I mean, that was like a lot of fun for me. I really love doing this little B-roll segment. So that's like the main thing for the B-roll, is make sure you're telling a story. Color grading, if you have access to something that will do the color grade, so you can kind of fade the whites and the blacks, add some teal to the shadow and orange to the highlights, filming in the right frame rate, the sound effects help. Another thing is slowing clips down. Now, if you're at 24 frames a second, it's kind of hard to slow things down. It gets weird. At 30 frames a second, you can slow things down in the program a little bit, and it makes it look kind of smoother. There are some clips in here that I did slow down just a little bit, just to make them look a little more smooth. But yeah, that's basically how I do all my B-roll. You know, I like to kind of have like the far out shot like we had in the beginning on the drone. And then I like to do some like mediums and close-ups and just really mix it up and tell the story. The story is the most important part of the B-roll. So yeah, that's basically how I edit my videos, guys. I go through, I put my clips in, I trim the fat off, and get them lined up the way I want them in the places that I want them. I add music, I correct the colors and add artistic whatever, my artistic vision to the clip, and then I edit all my B-roll and stuff, and I'll go back and add little animations, like somewhere in here. Where is it? I added this little thumbs down because we found trash. There's a pull tab, it's not good. I added that in there, things like that. That'll be like the last thing I do, is adding little things like that just to kind of add some extra little value in there. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And then I just export. Yes, there is some complicated things that I am able to do with Premiere Pro, but for the most part, anybody can do very similar stuff with any basic editing program. So the more you can plan out the shots in your head, the better off you'll be. You'll have a more clear vision of what you're gonna do and how you're gonna edit it. Eventually, at some point, you'll reach that point where your film brain works with your editing brain, and then they start to kind of work together, and then your life in the computer is like way easier. Real quick, let's show how to do that in-camera transition I was talking about. All right, guys, so a cool little transition you can do at home is like a whip pan transition, and that's basically where you take the camera and you do that motion, or you can do up and down even, really quickly, and then start another clip with that motion going in the same direction and splicing them in the middle, and it gives it this really cool look. So we can see, I could be telling you guys bye, and then I can whip over here, and you kind of want to try to match the speeds, but yeah, it gives it like a crazy cool look, easy to do in camera, and you don't have to use any software really. All right, cool guys, so I hope you found this video informational and helpful in some way, and thanks for watching and coming to the channel. As always, guys, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. Those really help the channel, working our way to the 1K. And I appreciate every one of you guys that hit the thumbs up, leave comments, subscribe. You guys are really awesome. Very lucky to have followers like you guys. I truly mean that. And yeah, I hope this will help some of you guys. But now I have to redo this entire process, basically, I just talked about with this video. So yeah. It's like it never ends. It's a circle. It's a circle. All right, guys. So remember, until next time, go out there, make your own adventures. Life is short. Have fun. Peace, y'all.